I'm going to talk about customer health from what I learned in my last startup and how I'm going to use that today in our context. So let's quickly begin with this. I'm going to take like 20, 25 minutes running through the presentation for you guys. So my standpoint on customer success has always been that customer success is actually digital healthcare. So the only place that we should therefore take inspiration from is the healthcare industry. The industry which has been keeping us alive, keeping us healthy for a period of time that 100 years back, a life expectancy of a human being was around 35 years. Today it is 73 years. It's purely because of the advances we have made in the medical science. And let us try to learn from that and see if we can use it in some ways in our customer success journeys and stuff. So moving on here, you have a business and you have many customers. That's very simple. And every customer of yours will have many users. That's also very quiet. What we want to do is we want to have Amit's spreadsheet here, which is again imaginatively color-coded in red, yellow, and green. We want to know which customer is red, yellow, and green in shape. And inside any customer, we want to know what are their users doing. Are they in red, yellow, and green? That's the overall objective. But we also want a deeper objective, to which our panelists alluded to, that we want to know that for every customer that we have got, how are they using the product? What are the ticketing looks like? Are they requesting too many features? Are they paying us on time? What's my comms looking like? Like, I mean, am I talking to the customers properly or not? So this is, look, if you want my selfie, I'll do a Shah Rukh Khan pose for sure. All right? This will be available for everyone if you do have a look at that. It will be downloadable for sure. But this is what we want to see, right? Now the question is, how do we get here? When all said and done, we know this piece. I mean, anybody from this audience can walk up and say, we want this, and this is the kind of Excel or view that we would like to have. The question is, how do we get there, right? So let me flip this question a bit and just understand a little bit more here. Our customers are of different sizes, correct? Our customers will have different stages, and our customers will have to be segmented. We cannot treat every customer in one complete universe and work with that. We have to somehow find a way to segment them. Okay, and most importantly, what the hell is health? Because everything else is understandable. Health ka kya matlab hai? What does it mean? What is that thing that we're talking about and referring to but never touching it? It's like a taboo subject. Like when we were teenagers, we could not talk about sex at home, right? We knew it will happen, but we just could not, right? We could also probably draw a diagram, this is how it's going to happen. It's exactly the same thing here as well. Like, we are not talking about it, but we want to know what the hell is health. So let's flip it from here, all right? Let's forget about customer success for a moment. Let me run you through a cycle of how medicine actually has gotten us to a point where we know what is healthy and what is not healthy, right? So let us say we have 5 cities in our hand. Delhi, represented by the Qutub Minar, Mumbai by Gateway of India, Calcutta by the Howrah Bridge, Hyderabad by the Charminar, and Bangalore by traffic, right? Because that's the endearing monument of Bangalore, and probably Silk Board. So anyways, that's the 5 cities we have got in our hand. And the question is, which city is healthy? This is exactly the same question that we have. Among all our customers, which customer is healthy, right? So let's understand from here. So let's go. So here is your population of people, right? This is all the folks out there from all these, this is a population, right? How do I actually start looking at the health of a population? Step number 1, can we actually segregate this population into 2 create categories? We can. Men and women, right? That's how Tinder does it. I think it's fair, right? So that's how it goes. So following Tinder again, we could also separate them into categories of age groups. It is important to do so because a 70-year-old woman has no health characteristics similar to a 20-year-old man. So we cannot compare them. So we have to create these buckets. That's what medical science does. All right, then what does it do? Moving on, it creates postulates that we postulate that a person is healthy when their heart, liver, and kidney is healthy. Of course, there's other things, bone hai, blood hai, brain hai, there are 15 other things. But let's just, for the moment, for simplicity's sake, because we could not put more than this in this presentation, let's say heart, liver, and kidney. All right? Then what do we go from here? Now what we say is, let's just make some guesses that, okay, we think that blood pressure is a good measure, that therefore a healthy heart should have good blood pressure, good cholesterol, good bilirubin level for the liver, and good urea level for the kidney. Now the question is, what the hell is good? Right? Again, we are coming back to the same problem. What the hell is this thing, right? So let's go. Let's look into this entire population and pick up one group just for 1 second, right? We will of course extrapolate same for every other group, but let's start with one group here. And let's go deep into it. So once we choose one group, let's say we choose women or men of 20 years and less. Moving on. If you measure their blood pressure readings, it will always come into a bell curve. And that's the point of, all populations will exhibit different numbers, and when you plot them, it will always come to a place in which 68% people would be in the median, and then 13% on the other side, and 2% on the extremities. These are your 3 sigma points. This is where the extreme numbers lie, either extreme low or extreme high. You put the same thing on amount of money we make, height, weight, whatever it is, we find this exact same curve. Okay, what do we do with this? Next step is we measure these groups over a period of time. And what we find is something very interesting. We find that people who are exhibiting high blood pressure, they tend to die out as they age, as they become older. So what does that tell me? It tells me that people who occupy those extremities are not healthy. They may live, some of them actually have lived. If you see this guy who is smiling pretty nicely has outlived everybody else, but that's how it is. There will be, of course, a few cases here and there, but that's how we know that high blood pressure is not good. And then if we go and measure this, we get to know that the medians, these ones, actually deliver you at 120/80, which is the accepted blood pressure for being healthy at the moment. This is how medical science over the years has come to this solemn realization that, if I go forward, that these are the numbers, right? That your blood pressure has to be between this, your cholesterol has to be at that level, so is for bilirubin, so is for urea, and so is for everything else. Tomorrow go and take a test. You will see a 50-point KPIs for which everything is absolutely numbered. And we have gone through this entire exercise of choosing populations, observing them over a period of time, finding out that the extremities are the problem and they are the unhealthy ones. That's how we figure out if you're healthy or unhealthy. All right, so now we know what is good, right? If you are in the extremities, you're not good. If you're somewhere in the middle, you're fine. You are just average. And if you're on the, the better side, great for you. So now we know what is good. Now let's try to apply this concept and try to understand if we can now answer, is Bangalore healthier than Mumbai or Calcutta or whatever the city is? So now if I go from here, my first problem is that, okay, now every city has different population. So Delhi has 33 million people, Mumbai has 22, Calcutta has 15, Hyderabad has 7 million, I don't know what they were doing wrong. Bengaluru has 14 million people, right? And it is probably going to become the second most populous city in the next 10 years or so here. So how do I compare Hyderabad with Delhi? It is 4.5 times this size. It's like, how do I compare my small customer with my large customer? Because they are completely different in size. Then how the hell do I work with this? So the way we work with this is we use a simple called sampling. And the first sampling theorem that we can always use is the use of averages. Assume that you can measure the health of every individual, of every person in every city. Then what we can do is we can represent them with one representative person. And then we can compare them. We'll do this exact same thing in economics, by the way. We compare the economic index of Iceland versus India. Iceland has 4 lakh people. HSR layout में उससे ज़्यादा लोग हैं. आज रात को बैंगलोर में उनसे ज़्यादा लोगों का चालान बनेगा for drunken driving. That is the population of Iceland. Then how do we work with that? We drop them down into an individual number, unit number, which is now therefore comparable across my customer spaces or city spaces or whatever space that means. So here if I compare that, it's very simple. You take a sample of the entire population, add up their numbers, divide it by the number of population. That is the representative use case person from that city, which tells you the BP. And I'm talking about only one KPI right now, which is blood pressure, right? Moving on, I can now do the same thing. I can see that in the 20 age group category, Bangalore is the healthiest city. You know, best liquor, best blood pressure. I don't know if this is a correlation true or not, but it seems like it makes sense, right? Delhi is the worst, thanks to our pollution. Anybody from Delhi here? Don't put your hand up, it's not a good thing. All right, so this is how you do for all the other age groups as well. And then you take the final average, and now you can very clearly see that in that entire sequence of things, the city that's coming out to be the best is Bangalore, followed by Hyderabad for its lovely biryani, Mumbai for its beautiful nightlife, Calcutta has some decent food, Delhi somehow again seems to be not in the great place. That's why I said hath not hoyar. All right, so that's what we understand here. Now, if I now go from here, and now I basically put it into Amit ka Excel sheet, again color coding it with red, yellow, green, I get this picture that, okay, in blood pressure, Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, Hyderabad, Bangalore, I have put them, and now I have changed their 92 and 84 and 88 into percentiles. So what I have figured out that the lowest percentile is occupied by Delhi, mid percentile by Calcutta, and the higher percentiles by Bangalore, which is where the health is. So it's simply put, the lower percentiles are the extremities where the problem is. Moving on, we can do the same thing for cholesterol, for heart, and then aggregate the blood pressure and cholesterol to get the heart health. And then we do the exact same cycle here to get the heart health, liver health, kidney health, and then average it completely at the end to get the overall health of Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. Again, it seems Bangalore is doing great. There is a story. Despite the traffic and all the nonsense we have got in Bangalore, it is the healthiest city somehow. It's a hypothetical case. Please don't go back and quote it's a survey from some place. All right, so this is what we have understood. We have understood that we can, no, go back to this place, please. We can actually ask and answer questions. Like, which city is doing worst in liver? That's Delhi. Which city is doing worst in heart? That's Calcutta. Thanks to the extra sweet rasgulla that eventually at some point will convert into fat and then will live into your artery forever. And Bengalis, by God, smoke. So they make sure that those lovely emulsions always stay cemented there. So that's your heart health, guys, right? So you can see that picture. We can answer these kind of questions very clearly at this point is looking at this picture, right? Now let's extrapolate this. We are somewhere near, into the next slide, please. We actually can retrace our entire step here. How did we start? We picked our population, we categorized them into segments, we then created the postulates. Then what we did was we measured them and we found out that the lowest extremities are the problem, which we need to definitely keep an eye on. Then we measured each of the cities by a unit result by doing sampling. And then finally, we aggregated that to get the final point to answer the question which city is healthy and which city is not. Now, let us flip back to our original question. Our original question was, if my business has multiple customers and multiple users, and my customers are of different sizes, they're of different stages, how the hell do I get to this story? Now let's retrace exactly what we did with medical sciences. Let's just follow them by heart. Step number one, take your customers, segment them into two parts. I hope you are steady customers and trial customers. For trial customers, use Rocket Lane. That's when you want to know how they're onboarding correctly, are they doing it right. For steady customers, use CS tools. Use something like AppEQ, Gain Cytotango. Have a look at us also. Sridhar said that, right? So they said, there you go. So you have these two segments very clearly because they will have different kind of behaviors. It's like segmenting men and women. I can't expect my trial customers and my study customers to actually have the exact same behavior. So I have made a drawing line there, differentiating them into two different segments completely. Step number two, let's look into the users. And I've color-coded the users in two different colors because they have two different roles. Now here's the point. A user of role 1 is comparable to a user of role 1 in another organization. But a user of role 1 cannot be compared to user of role 2. A CXO and a support lead cannot be compared. A CXO across organizations can be compared. Support leads across organizations can be compared. CSM across the organization can be compared. But a CXO and a CSM that compares does not make any sense. So what we should do is we should definitely, therefore, segment them into the customer and the user buckets. Now, if the buckets are very clear, they're all of similar kinds. It's exactly what we had done in our first step in our healthcare process. Step number 2, let us go and take the next step, which is make certain postulates. The postulate says, okay, my customers and my users need to use the product well. My customers and my users need to be healthy in ticketing, in feature requests, in payments, and in comms. Again, the question is, what the hell is health, right? So what we do is we go ahead from here and we make certain postulates. Our first postulate is that, a good customer and a good user will spend more time on the product consistently. My second postulate is they will visit more pages and use more features. You can also add more things. They should apply more leaves. They should spend more gigabytes of data. They should consume more APIs. You can add more to this. But you get the drift, right? This is what we do. So this is my first step of figuring out what my product usage is, get sorted. Then I go to the ticketing part. Okay, they should log less tickets. More tickets should be resolved. Less tickets should be priority 1. Less users should log the tickets from the customer space. And so on and so forth. You can choose your own KPIs for doing this. Third, we go to same thing for comms, that customers should have a continuous comms with you, which is consistent. And finally, the volume of comms should be high, and the days since the last comms have happened with you, with the customer, should be less. That means the touch is good, right? You can make those postulates. Same thing you can do for payments, like how many payments should be good, bad, are they full in payment, are there any delinquencies in late payment? You can make those postulates. And last, the same thing you do for feature requests, that customers should probably request for less features and be happy with what they've got. If they're not, then of course they're probably asking you to do more things. They're not very happy about that. So that's your postulates, right? And you can build in as many of these postulates, provided, next slide, we're done with this, next slide. We start looking into this and go to the next part of our job, which is we have to now figure out which of these customers in those postulates are occupying the bottom percentiles. Because just like in healthcare, the bottom percentiles is where the problem really lies, right? So if I go to doing this, I can say, okay, let us all focus on the customers and users who occupy this space. Every other space is not a worry for me. For now, let us focus on this. You can, of course, drag it more towards the right-hand side as comfortable you are. But let us say you stay at the 3 sigma level. So I'm going to focus on the last 3% or 5% or 7% customers that I really want to look into. They will be my unhealthy group of things for every KPI. And it's possible that a customer might show great product usage, but absolutely terrible communications or poor feature requests. So there's possibilities for you to find customers in different buckets which are problems. So now if I go from here and plot the same thing into our space, we say this is the middle part is okay, yellow, and the last part is green. So this is our postulate again. This is how we define how the lowest part of the strata which we need to focus on. And finally, we put this into our customer scoring. From all the customers and users, what we will do for every KPI, if they occupy the lowest possible part of the bell curve, that is where the problem lies. We should focus on them. So if you go from here, we do the exact same thing here, and we can find out about the health of every user, and then we can go about doing the aggregation to find the health of every customer. So what did we do? We actually retraced the path that is shown to us by medical science. That this is how you find it. You don't know what is good. Is 20 pages visited by your customer per day on your product good, bad, ugly? I don't know. Is 300 minutes spent by your customer every month on your product good? We don't know. All we can say is when we look into all the customers and convert them into unit level, we can find out who is at the bottom levels and we can focus on them. We will learn if that bottom level is actually the problem or they're okay. That's the way it has to be thought through for doing this activity. And this is how you do it. So the steps are, you segment the customers, you define your health KPIs, You figure out the health range at which you're operating, not absolute numbers, but always the percentile numbers. And then you do the aggregation to find the final health. And if you do this, you should get something like this. If I move on, something like this. This is a ZapScale screen where we show that, okay, these are your customers. And we can see that where is in terms of percentile they occupy, in terms of product usage. So we can see that Siemens is my best product using customer at the moment at 100 percentile. Compared to Siemens, Xerox is at only 9th percentile. So that's where it is red, it is to be focused on. You can do the exact same thing for tickets, features, billing, email, and the overall, the final number, which is the entire health of that customer right here itself. This is a mathematical, scientific approach which we know medical science has applied. And that's how we believe that this part should be looked at. There is, see, look, the CS part is a tough place where we have to be aware of all the data from different places. But then, unless we actually follow the medical sciences, we really miss out on figuring out what is health. We have to answer these questions at some point in our lives.